All right. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Right, today's Wednesday. Yeah. Hope you are doing wonderful this morning. All right. Let's get over to public. Awesome. All right. Yeah. Sorry about no stream yesterday. I had to take Jerry to school, drop off. Was happening, so all was smooth, all was good. He loved it. I asked him as soon as I picked him up, buddy, what'd you do today? I don't know. It was good. Of course, as we were watching the sunset last night, he goes, I don't think that's the sun. I think that's Saturn. And I was like, oh yeah, where'd you learn about Saturn? He goes, in school. Oh, so you did do something today, I guess. What other planets are there? I don't know, like Mars. What one do we live on? And he goes, human. It's like, okay, well, I guess I can't expect him to become an astrophysicist on day one. So, anyway, Beth's taking him today, so I'm sure she's probably crying and whining all the way home. But Parker is loving the single kid life right now. Oh yeah, definitely, Matt. I'm well prepared for that. Are you still going to Placid this weekend? We have to talk today. I think we're gonna go for a ride. You want to ride gravel this afternoon? Want to go ride shack cam? So today I wanted to talk about good versus bad. A lot of times when we're looking at, specifically food, someone's like, oh, well, I was going to have that, but I know it's a bad food. And that kind of always sometimes I'll even say that is just, out of habit, but really truly Wednesday night ride. Oh yeah, that's right. Maybe I can take my bike off the trainer. What time is that? Let's give a shameless plug right now. It's my friends over at Trek of New Hartford who are hosting a Wednesday night ride. This will be the last ride of the year. It's going to be a chilly ride this afternoon. It is at, waiting for Matt. 6 p.m. at Trek of New Hartford, which is in New Hartford. All groups welcome. So anyway, every now and then I get into this, where I'll be like, but I will ride at 5 if you want to meet at 5. So, we'll get into this thing where we'll call food good or bad. Are Oreos good or bad? Well, they're a bad food, and it's kind of relative, but that also leads to that cheat mindset. Like, I don't believe you can cheat on food or have a cheat meal, because food is a non-emotional item. So that's one of those things where, it's the same thing. Is the weather good or is the weather bad? And I talk about the weather all the time because I make that similarity in that comparison, because to me it's very similar in the respect that, if it's raining out, that's not necessarily bad. If it's snowing out, that's not necessarily bad. If I eat an Oreo, that's not necessarily bad. If I eat some ice cream, that's not necessarily bad. I tell clients all the time, if you have wheat toast in, 2 slices of wheat toast instead of half a cup of oatmeal in the morning, that's not necessarily bad. Is one better for you? Well, that depends. If when you have oatmeal, you throw up every time just because of a texture thing, but yet you need carbs in the morning so that you can be able to do your high intensity interval training, then the wheat toast all of a sudden isn't bad, right? So it's there's, especially, then I guess I would digress and say then the wheat toast is a better option. Not, again, taking it away from this good or bad. So a lot of times when I say, it's another beautiful day, it could be raining out and I can think it's a beautiful day. Why? Because when it rains, then we have growth. When it's sunny, and people get complacent and say, oh, I'm not going to go outside because it's raining out today. Some of the best workouts you can do are in inclement weather, because what happens, especially if you're an athlete and you're training for a race. If I'm training for Ironman, and this happened in 2000, I think he did the last one I did was 2018. I always say you have to train in everything because you might race in anything. There have been, and in 2018 at Ironman, it absolutely sideways rained the first 40 miles of the bike. So anyone who was like, oh, it's raining, I'm not going to go outside and ride, you are at a huge disadvantage. So from an athletic perspective, I don't know how many years ago, probably 7 years ago now, we had the Syracuse Half Marathon was happening in the spring, and we had, basically like a blizzard that day. And people, I know a handful of people who got injured because they've never run in the snow. How the hell are you training for a half marathon that happens in the spring and you didn't run in the snow? If you live in New York, you had to run through the snow all winter in training. But it was like, oh, I'm just going to crank out treadmill miles. Well, I've never seen a legitimate race happen on a treadmill. So you want to race in the conditions. So is the weather bad? No, it's just another variable. Is this road bad? Nope, it's just another variable. We did this gravel ride this weekend. Gravel ride, not race, became a ride very quickly. This weekend, were the roads good or bad? I don't know. I thought they were awesome. They were. I wouldn't want to drive my car. I wouldn't want to drive Beth's, car down them at 70 miles an hour. But again, it's, we can't define things as good or bad. When it comes to food, we can't say this is a good food, that's a bad food, because that puts such a negative connotation on things, or such an inflated connotation on things. Blueberries. Most people would say blueberries are very good food. You should eat blueberries all the time. They're full of antioxidants. Well, what if you get kidney stones because of the oxalates? Well, then they're a bad food for you. Bad food, right? So, we shouldn't use this good food, bad food, because again, then we have guilt associated. If I had half of Jerry's Half Moon cookie after the race ride on Sunday, and that's a bad food. That's going to break my diet. And it's like, well, it's half a moon cookie, and it's not. And again, as long as if we want to look at the bigger picture, is it going to be part of this huge macro cycle that I'm going to start having a half moon cookie every day now? No, I probably won't have one again for a year, because they don't do anything for me. So we have to think of foods more in that perspective. We have to think of life in general as more of that perspective, because then it also changes our outlook. If I look outside and I'm like, oh, it's just another gloomy, dark, gray, shitty day in Syracuse. Well, where's your motivation? Like you totally took any motivation you had and you just flushed it down a toilet. So those are, versus if you look outside and you're like, wow, we're getting hammered with snow. I'm going to be challenged today for my run. Everybody always opts for the easy way. A treadmill is the easy way. Riding the indoor trainer is an easy way. For me, it's really a time thing. Most of the time, if I'm going to ride in the morning, I can't go outside just because Beth has to leave and someone's going to be home for the boys. So I put my bike on I can keep my bike on the trainer, but I'm not in there saying, well, it's too cold. No, put an extra layer on. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that good, the bad, and how you can't define food, you can't define life through good and bad. You have to define it in the circumstance, in how it plays a role in in your life at that moment. Now, having Oreo cookies, that's a bad habit if you're having them throughout the day, every day, all day. That can be a bad habit. But again, just defining a food as a bad food, that's a bad food. You're not allowed to eat that. You know, that's not, you don't want to go down that road, because again, that's where guilt comes in. And then when you associate food and eating certain things with guilt, then you start to feel worse about the decision you're making. And that typically leads to that snowball flying down a hill of, well, I already shit today, so I might as well just eat, eat pizza, wings, drink some beers, have some ice cream, some M&Ms, and anything else that I can get my hands on. So, just keep it in that perspective of, it's not necessarily good or bad. It is just simply food or food-like substances that I'm putting into my body. Will it help my performance? Probably not. Will it hinder my performance? If I continue down that path, definitely. And that's the piece, again, we have to look ahead to the future. We have to look at the big picture. If Matt has a handful of M&Ms, what is the consequence of that? And it's like, if he just has a handful of M&Ms and walks away, that's it. If he has a handful of M&Ms and all day for the rest of the day, that's all he thinks about, eventually he's going to have that breakdown of willpower, which we've talked about in the past. Then it's like, okay, that's something that's a catalyst, and that's something that's going to lead to that negative change. So then it's like, all right, now I have to be very cognizant and very conscious to not have that, or to, severely limit it so that I don't end up, having that same thing day in, day out, every day, right? And that goes to the James Clear theory of don't miss twice, never miss twice. So if you get off your meal plan, just get right back on. If you get off your exercise routine, get right back on. Just don't miss twice. So hope you guys have an awesome day. Get out there and enjoy some of this beautiful fall weather. It's a nice, cool mid-morning. I'd say this is mid-morning. Been up since 4, so it's mid-morning to me. And again, I hope that you guys have an awesome day. And take this information and don't think of food and other stuff as good or bad. Relate it to the context of your life. And I will see you cool cats tomorrow on Thursday. Have a great one. LP bound. Have fun, Zarek. I hope that it is nice and cool up there. See you guys.